In this video, we'll talk about the account section of Engage. Accounts essentially represent donors, and in this section we'll talk about how to create a new account, how to view accounts, how to do a number of other options such as editing contact preferences, merging accounts, and adding organization types, etc. So from the first dashboard, we'll see on the quick navigation there's an account section which talks about the accounts dashboard, creating an account and searching an account. So the first thing that we'll do is talk about how to create an account, and this is creating a new donor. So you can come onto the side here, you can either press create account or you can press create and then create from there. So we'll create an account and you'll be brought to a screen which says create account. Now the first thing to bear in mind, on the right side we have individual and organization. An individual being an individual donor, someone who just wants to give a certain amount, whereas an organization has an organization name and a contact person. So one, for example, may be a business, it may be an institutional funder, it may be a charity partner. And so here we can add the information regarding the organization. But in this case, we'll talk about the individual specifically. So here you will add the title. So you have the title, for example, Mr. We can add Adam and we can say Ryan. And then we come to the address lookup. The address lookup allows you here to choose the relevant country. In this case, we'll keep it as United Kingdom. And starting off with the postcode, you'll notice that if we start typing in a postcode here, we will have a certain amount of addresses which we can choose from. And so we may, for example, take this one and we'll take 21, for example. This will auto populate the rest of the lines, and of course you can add things as necessary. So we could add this as well if necessary. Going further down, you'll see the phone number. So the phone number again chooses certain prefixes. In this case, we can add, and once you've clicked that, it will say give a tick. Now, of course, if you put in an additional number, then it will give you a validation error which you would need to change. Email addresses work exactly the same, and of course if you require or need to add multiple phone numbers or multiple email addresses, you can do so here. In this case we may just add, and here we can decide whether it's a work, personal or unknown email address. Going further down, there are the opportunities to add different online presences, so the Facebook, Instagram and other social media links. But coming now to contact preferences. So contact preferences allow an individual or allow yourself to decide what do they want to receive and what do you give GDPR consent for. So as you can see on the right, we have the different types of consent preference, and on the left is the actual channel of how the consent will be given. So for example, email here, the different explanations are unspecified, means we do not know what the donor wants. Admin only refers to things like receipts and feedbacks, whereby they only want to receive administrative communications, but they don't want any fundraising. If you choose fundraising only, then of course they will only receive fundraising, they will not receive any receipts, etc. All, which is probably the majority case, will mean that they're allowing consent for all, and then none means that they do not allow any consent. This may differ based on your particular subscription, based on the onboarding process, but most will have many like this. Now if you want to go into specifics, you are able to click into the channel and you can actually decide what is going to be opt-in or opt-out as per the relevant choices. So you may say, for example, that they want to opt out of the fundraising, but they want to opt in for administration, and that's similar to the admin only. And so this is replicated across all of the different channels of communication preferences. Once that's been done, then you'll choose a consent date. So you can choose a date here and you can choose how it was consented. So we can see here, paper forms, letters, in person, etc., and any notes or files that are required as necessary. Now, of course, if you're on the phone and you need to read a privacy statement, you can click here and your privacy statement can come up here for any of your call center staff as necessary. Furthermore, going down, for UK users in particular, this has the gift aid function, which allows you to decide whether someone is gift aid eligible or not. If you press yes, then of course you will have additional information such as the declaration date, and of course the backdated goes up to 4 years. And then here we have again the declaration source, which is stored in the system. Now if you wish, you can add any particular files that you wish to add, and they can be added here. And finally, the interaction, the touch point. This is something which will be covered in a future video, but refers primarily to the ability to provide a attribution for this particular donor. So you may in the back end decide that you will have a number of touch points, which will be covered in a future session, and again you can actually select it here. Once you're happy with all of this information, then you would press click account, and in this case we'll show you an account which is already made. So before we actually view an account, it's worth showing how to actually search for an account. So from the top, if we start back from the dashboard, there's two ways an account be searched for. One is via the search function at the top. This allows you to search in by name, by email address, by phone number. As you can see, we'll have a name here. Now the other way to search is through the advanced search. If you press search and accounts, then this will take you to an advanced search screen which has a list of all of the accounts. Again, you can search by advanced criteria here. So for example, you can search by the type of account, you can search by the email or phone, and you can also search by the address here. And anytime, for example, the dates of created at or created by, as per necessary. And so now we're on an account of Brian Wilms, and this will show us introductory information about the individual. It will show us their average donation, total donations to date, and actually some of the projects or funds that they have donated to. Now if you go down, you'll see on the left there's a panel which shows different elements of the account, which we'll run through in a moment, but we can also see their contact information and additional information that we'd already collected. And so any of these can be changed, for example, by clicking the blue pen icon, so you can change the address as necessary. We can change the email address or add new numbers or profile information. On the bottom left, you'll see contact preferences, so we can see their current contact preferences and the dates with whereby which they had opted in or out for certain preferences. Now clicking the blue button will allow us to change that as necessary if there is any update manually. In addition, we have the gift aid, and we can also now here specify or unspecify the eligibility for the gift aid as well. Now you'll notice as well at the bottom there is a small task list or task bar. This shows any tasks which are directly linked to this individual. So by clicking this, we can see that there is already a task allocated for this individual, and by clicking on this we can see any additional information or any notes which have been given here. Now next is the giving. So by going to giving, we can see any giving or pledges that they have actually made so far. So we can actually add regular giving, whether it's through normal payment cards or whether it's through a direct debit. This can be added here, and it will also show up on this particular panel. We also can see our pledges, so any pledges that an individual has, and we can see what's awaiting allocations, and of course this will be continued in another video. At the bottom are all of the donations which have been made by this individual, and by clicking on anything here you can see the actual allocations and the specific projects or funds that they have donated to. And there's further information that will be taken in the donation section of these videos, which will allow you to see more specific information. On the left as well, we see the orphans, so we can see all the orphans, and this will be covered in a separate video. Feedbacks will show us any projects or mini projects which are in process or due for completion by the individual donor. Communications will show us all the communications, whether they are emails or documents which have been sent to a print queue, and this will allow us to see, for example, what was sent to the individual in addition to any other information. The gift aid is also available. Their declarations will be here, as well as the submission amounts and claim to date, and a historical list of the gift aid declarations that they had, which can be drilled down as we'll see in the following video. We also have attachments, and so attachments allow you to add documents to particular accounts. By clicking on attachments, you'll see a number of predefined attachment types where you can add an attachment and any notes, and this will allow you to upload information as necessary as well. And finally, the history of the individual in terms of what has been modified on this particular account, what changes were made. This can be accessed from the history tab of this particular account. Now, for administrators, there is a function which allows you to make some changes for accounts specifically. Now, you need administrative access in order to do this, so this will be covered in a separate video. However, if once you're an admin, you can come into the account section on the left and you'll see the ability to choose different options. So the first is attachment types. Now, this allows you, as we mentioned before, to choose different or create different types of attachment types. So here, for example, we can add a different type of attachment. Let's just say a receipt for attendance, for example, and we can add that, and this will be added. Now, once this has been added in the back end, it will be available for front-end users who are creating accounts to add any necessary documentation under these three type of attachment types. The second option for the admin is to change account titles. So we have the ability to add additional titles. As you can see, Professor has been added here. Anything can be added as per the need of the organization, and so that can be added here by adding the account title as necessary. The third is the organization type. So these are different types of organizations that you can add into the system to categorize your organization. So here we could add, for example, charity partners. We can also add faith centers if you wish, and even university groups. So these are quite flexible, and you can add these. And of course, when someone adds an account in the front end, when they're adding an account as necessary in the front end of the system, then they can use these organization types as necessary. And finally, closure reasons. Closure reasons allow you to, when you come to close an account in the system, they allow you to categorize what the reason was for the closure. So we have here, for example, incomplete data or moving abroad. Again, this can be added by any of your admin users in order to get a good example or good idea of how why people are closing their accounts with your particular organization.